Now, Hamilton, Ontario has produced numerous great Canadians, and one of them went on to carve out a stellar career in media, but frankly, we couldn't get him. So instead, it's Byline's Brian Lilley in Ottawa. Hi, Brian, how are you?
Doing well, despite talking to you. I'm doing well.
Now, Barack Obama, peace be upon him, has been accused of all sorts of things over the years. And Andrew Breitbart said, may he rest in peace, said he had a video revealing the man's racism. We're going to see some of the visuals now. You won't hear the audio. What's in this video, Brian? What does it show? What does it prove?
This is a video of Barack Obama in 1991 while he was at Harvard. He was president of the Harvard Law Review. And people saying, oh, well, he was a young man. Well, he's already gone through Columbia. He's on to Harvard. He's leading the biggest law magazine, or one of the biggest law magazines in the United States at this point. And he's talking about opening your hearts and your minds to the words of Professor Derek Bell. And he was leading a student protest in support of Bell. Bell was the first African-American who was a tenured professor at Harvard Law School. Yeah. But he was also a man who was into what's called critical legal scholarship. He followed a line of thinking that viewed the law as a racist tool to prop up white supremacy and keep black Americans down. So a bit of a radical thing. And this is what Barack Obama was saying, open your hearts and your minds to his words. You know, this was not a theory that Professor Bell backed away from. And so there was this video, and PBS in Boston had it. They didn't show it during the last election.
Of course.
It was purposely hidden. That's why.
Yeah. Yeah, well, look, this is a wonderful, seamless garment, isn't it, of the man's extremism that's being aggressively disguised by mainstream media. We know for many years he went to a church where the preaching was offensive to most black people. Here was a preacher who screamed at whites and Jews. He was a direct racist. Obama went there, was inspired by him, and only left the church when there was suddenly public pressure. The media tried to hide that as well.
And this Professor Bell comes out of the same vein as Pastor Jeremiah Wright. Yeah. He wrote a short story that was turned into a movie called Space Traders, and the premise is that if aliens came down to the United States and offered gold to pay off the national debt of the U.S. in exchange for all the black people, that all the white people of the U.S. would sell all the black people to aliens for gold, while the Jews stood by and watched it happen. This is a man, like I say, kept his theories, kept his ideas throughout his life. He only passed away a year or two ago. Barack Obama kept his association with him throughout his life. So it wasn't just a youthful dalliance. Barack Obama has been around radical people his entire adult life. Bill Ayers, the convicted terrorist from the Weather Underground, he launched his political career in his home. Bill Ayers is unrepentant for what he did in the 1960s and 70s. Friends sat on boards with him, went to dinners with him, launched, as I said, launched his political career. So it's not a huge smoking gun, this video, and if you want to see the whole thing, it is at lillyspad.ca, right, along with an extended clip where another Harvard professor admits on tape, we hid this. He said, that's what he said, we hid this during 2008. Says it doesn't care if people see it now because Obama's elected, but we hid it. This was a tape from WGBH in Boston. This is one of the biggest PBS stations in the U.S. They produce Arthur and programs like that. If you've got kids, they probably watch programs produced by this station. So it's not a small station with three guys in a broken-down van. They had this. They never showed it during the last election cycle. And this is just the first in a series of tapes that the Breitbart folk say that they will be releasing.
It is a direct attack on democracy, even worse than the major tragedy of robocalls. But it's happened before, and it will happen again. Now, of course, at the same time, Rush Limbaugh dared to call somebody a slut. He then apologized. Let's remember, Sarah Palin was routinely called the C word by people in liberal media. Laura Ingraham, who's a very, very dignified woman, was called a slut by someone, a liberal on talk radio. The filth that has come from these people describing all sorts of conservatives, I mean, just overwhelming. But Limbaugh uses the word slut, and now advertisers are screaming and shouting. And even that well-known Canadian rock band Rush, and actually I thought they were Ted, they said, we want our song withdrawn from his show now. Good God, what hypocrisy.
Oh, yeah, hypocrisy all around. Would they do the same if Bill Maher used one one of their songs because, as you say, Bill Maher has used the C word to refer to Sarah Palin. Well, he's also just given $1 million to Barack Obama re-election fund. Obama hasn't called out Maher on any of this. He probably won't call out Maher on any of this, and Maher will continue to say these things because he hasn't apologized either. The hypocrisy is strong enough that a woman named Kristen Powers, she's a columnist in the U.S. and also a liberal pundit, Democratic strategist that goes on Fox. She talked about it and she said, look, the double standard is clear, it is present, and it is that liberal men are allowed to be misogynist. She said, I don't agree with what Rush Limbaugh said. She thinks it's right that he apologized, but she thinks that the liberal men should be held to the same standard and that women of all sides should stop taking it. But most, unfortunately, just fall within their partisan thing. That's one thing that drives me nuts. I don't care who you are, Michael, or what side you're on. Don't hold your team to a lesser standard than you hold the other guy's team.
Yeah, I agree, and I think Rush Limbaugh was wrong to use that word, but he did apologise. Finally, am I dreaming? Is it possibly the case that we would see on Sun News live Justin Trudeau being punched in the face?
Yes, and he may even return punches. You know, people keep forgetting that. He's got a long reach. He's about my height, lanky. He's got some reach, a bit taller than Patrick Brazeau, the Conservative senator he'll be going up against. But you will see each of them throw punches. Now, this is for a charity, and we've got the exclusive broadcast rights on Sun News. So March 31st, you'll get to see it. Hopefully, I'll be ringside watching this. They're going to be wearing headgear, so don't look for any, you know, bloody noses and all of that. Maybe some broken ribs.
Well, yeah.
Maybe they'll break each other's ribs.
But, Brian, years ago, I've boxed in headgear. You do get bloody noses. I mean, certain parts of the face are protected, but this is what I predict, because you can be fit, you can have a long reach, but if you're not used to being punched in the head, the first couple of times it happens, it's really very shocking, and I don't think Trudeau will go more than about 30, 40 seconds with this guy.
Well, Brazeau is a former military man, he's got a black belt in a couple of martial arts, and he's been involved in kickboxing before, and he's sparred a lot. Trudeau has trained in boxing, but admits he hasn't sparred much, so I think he is in the middle of sparring now so that he gets used to being hit in the head. And can maybe go longer than those 30 to 40 seconds. Yeah,
but, you know, Brian, sparring with 9-year-old girls is not quite the same. But he was a substitute drama teacher, so I, for one, am terrified. Brian, as always, thank you, my friend.
Thank you.